All right, everybody. What's happening, man? How y'all doing out there? I hope everybody doing good and enjoying your Wednesday. We are at the hump of the week, and that leads us to our Week 10 preview. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about all the games that take place this week. There are 6 games on the schedule, full slate of SWAC games. So all the SWACtion that you can ask for is right here. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, C Wells, and obviously this is SWACtalk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. So as you can see, the socials are scrolling on by on the bottom of the screen, so you can go ahead and check those out. Um, Also, if you want to drop a little something in the collection plate, you can hit the Cash App. $ Swag Talk would be much appreciated for the love and support of the show. If you haven't done so already, man, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the page and then hit that notification bell so you can be alerted to any content that I upload. Like the video, share them, and feel free to comment and let me know who you think gonna win or what your thoughts are on any other topic this week. As we move into championship November and teams are gonna start separating each other, and like I've been saying since October, these are separation Saturdays. A lot of teams are fighting for their lives. You know, if you lose, you're out. If you win, you stay the course. So, you know, you have those kind of teams, but then you have the teams who are already done. They just counting down the days to put the pads up. So we're gonna see how these teams respond to the games this week. Will they have any get up and go in them to fight and be a spoiler, or are they gonna lay down since their season is basically over? So speaking of a game like that, that's going to lead us to our first game, which is Grambling at Arkansas Pine Bluff. That game is 2 o'clock kickoff on ESPN Plus. Two teams who are honestly kind of moving in, I don't want to say different directions, but Grambling is not necessarily as down as Pine Bluff is. Pine Bluff is right now not looking good at all. You know, like I said, week in and week out, they've gotten worse and worse. They got 59 points dropped on them by Texas Southern last week. And, you know, they are not, you know, at one point, at least the defense looked like they were around, but now the defense doesn't look like it's there. And the offense is also looking like it's not there at all. So Grambling comes into this game averaging 17 points per game, which puts them at 11th in the league. Pine Bluff is averaging 19.3 points per game, good for ninth in the league. So nope, neither team is scoring. Pine Bluff has definitely not been able to move the football and score the ball at all. Um, their Grambling is defensively, they are allowing an average of 27.2 points per game. Pine Bluff is allowing an average of 37.5 points per game on defense. So neither team is able to stop anybody right now, and that's the problem. Obviously, you know, if you can't stop anybody, Grambling averaging 107 yards per game rushing, and Pine Bluff 116. Pine Bluff is giving up 190 yards per game on the ground as a defense. Grambling is a bit better at 152, which puts them mid-pack in the conference. Passing offense, again, Grambling is last in the league in passing. They're averaging 131 yards per game. They have 9 interceptions and 9 touchdowns. So that's an even turnover and even pass touchdown interception ratio. Pine Bluff is averaging 202 yards per game. They have 6 touchdowns but 10 interceptions, and they are not really taking care of the ball very well. Like I said, they are playing two quarterbacks pretty much the whole season, and they're just not getting it done. Defensively, Pine Bluff is allowing 256 through the air. They have 20. They have allowed 24 touchdowns on the season through the air. That's more. That's about 5 more touchdowns than the second worst team. So they are definitely giving up a lot of points through the air and a lot of yardage. They only have 5 interceptions, so they're not stopping anybody when they do throw the ball. So Pine Bluff defensively just has not been sharp this year. Total offense, Grambling is averaging 239 yards per game, and Pine Bluff 318. Pine Bluff is allowing an average of 446 per game, and Grambling is allowing an average of 372. And like I said, Grambling's defense is honestly not as bad as their offense. Their defense is actually pretty solid. The offense just puts them in so many bad situations that they just can't get out of it. The offense, has really not found any consistency at all through either the pass game or the run game, and that's a problem for these two teams. To be able to move the football consistently and to be able to score the ball consistently. And this is a matchup of two teams who I would say are honestly not playing their best, and this is do or die for both teams. So you really have to expect both teams to come out and play hard. You got to expect for them to challenge each other. This is probably the last opportunity for either one of these teams to for sure get a win. So that puts a little bit of added pressure on, and I I'm gonna lean toward the Grambling Tigers in this game by a score of 28-10. Um, I just think that Grambling's defense is the key to this game. Pine Bluff, I just don't think that they're playing right now. I think they checked out. Um, I could be wrong. Maybe they circle the wagons this week and play better, but they haven't shown me anything since the second half of since the first half. Excuse me, honestly, of the Alcorn game, they haven't showed me anything to say that they're gonna be a team that's gonna be competitive in any game. Grambling has at least shown that, and they have an upset over Alabama in them to prove that point. Pine Bluff has not won a game since their opening game, so I don't know if they even have it in them to get themselves back on track. So that's our Grambling Pine Bluff game again, 28-10, and we're gonna move on to the next game that we're gonna talk about, and that will be Alcorn at Bethune-Cookman. Obviously, Bethune-Cookman has still not won a game. Alcorn coming off of a heartbreaking loss against Southern. So it's going to be important for Alcorn to respond to this. They're on that stretch of road games. This is their fourth road game in a row. And, will that wear on them? Will they be able to put the Southern game behind them? Because Bethune-Cookman, even though they're winless, they're a dangerous team. They are capable of moving the ball. They have some nice pieces on offense. And defensively, they're not great, but they can get stops when they need them. They're the kind of team that if you get ahead of them, you really have to be careful that you don't allow them to get back in the game because they have done that a lot, but they have yet to get over the hump. So Alcorn really needs to watch out for this game. Um, this is, they're coming off of a loss, so I personally don't believe you can have a trap game coming off of a loss because you should be focused coming off of a loss. But there's a big, big, big game next week against Prairie View. So, you cannot look ahead to that game because if you lose this game, then you're pretty much out of the race. So Bethune-Cookman should have Alcorn's undivided attention, especially coming off of that loss to Southern. So I think a focused Alcorn will win this game pretty comfortably. Maybe it won't be pretty because Alcorn has not played any pretty football this season, which is fine. You don't have to look good. You just have to win. And when you're in the when you're in the midst of a division race, you just need to win and put yourself in the position to finish at the finish line. So right now, Alcorn is averaging 430 yards. 386 yards of offense. That's good for fourth place in the league. Defensively, they're allowing 357, which is also fifth in the league. So they're pretty much, mid-pack offense and defense. The offense, the run game has really been tremendous. Nico Duffy is running the ball well. Felix Harper has shown a lot of escapability. He really kept Alcorn in the Southern game with his legs. He didn't have his best passing game. I think he was 13 or 26, but he really ran the ball well on third downs, especially extending drives and making big plays, making guys miss and getting out of the pocket. Alcorn also can lean on a guy like Stafford Anderson to run the ball. He's a bigger back than Duffy, so that's a change of pace type of guy. But the receivers in Pringle and CJ Bowler, they're dangerous, man. CJ Bowler, he had a hell of a catch against Southern, man, one hand in the end zone. 2 touchdowns in that game. Pringle is, a guy that's always going to be there for Alcorn. He's a playmaker, and they're gonna, really lean on those guys. Um, right now, Alcorn is averaging 179 yards on the ground, and they're allowing 148. So they the defense is getting better week by week. Obviously the Southern game they didn't look, the part. Southern had a lot of long drives and wore them down, but defensively they can get stops. It's important that they do, because Bethune-Cookman, even though they don't have a flashy offense, they're gonna give you some problems. Alcorn right now is averaging 214 through the air. They have 16 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Defensively, they are allowing an average of 208 through the air. Again, defensively is mid-pack. 6 touchdowns through the air for the opponents and 3 interceptions. An important mark that I love to look at in these types of games are third down conversions. Alcorn is at 36% on third downs, and the defense is allowing 39% conversions on third down. So they're not really being able to stay on the field consistently, but they're doing a good job of getting off the field defensively. So I really, I really expect to see Alcorn to play this game really intense. I think they're gonna get out and get after it. Bethune-Cookman comes into this game, like I said, they haven't won a game at 0-8. They're averaging 22 points per game, which is not bad for a team who has not won a game. Now defensively, they're not doing good at all. They're averaging 38 points per game allowed on defense. So they've given up a lot of points. They've given up 40 plus points a few times. So they put themselves in some tough positions on defense. Um, the running game is averaging 121 yards per game, which is kind of deceiving because they have one of the top backs in the conference in Quishon Bird, who has 476 yards rushing and 6.6 yards per game per play average, and 4 touchdowns. So he's pretty much the only guy that they can consistently count on to get yardage. But he's had a couple games where he's been shut down. And if you can shut the run game down for Bethune-Cookman, you're gonna have a better chance against them. Defensively, they're pretty they're allowing 177 yards per game on the ground. Their passing attack is actually fifth place in the league right now at 228 yards per game. They have 12 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Turnovers have definitely been their boogeyman this year. Interceptions, especially Shannon Patrick has thrown quite a few interceptions. Uh, Devin Black has come in as the backup, and I think he's starting now. I think Patrick's starting, but Black is playing. I don't know how they're gonna go with that, but those are two guys who are capable, but neither guy has really taken a hold of the job. Passing defensively, Bethune-Cookman is last in the league at 268. They have 19 touchdowns allowed and 3 interceptions. Again, they're just they're getting beat deep, and they're getting hurt on big plays, which leads to them falling behind early in games. Third down conversion rate, Bethune-Cookman is at 31% on offense. That's obviously not good. That's ninth in the league. You need to convert these third downs, especially against Alcorn. You have to keep your drives going, because if you give Alcorn short fields, they're going to eat you alive. So you really need to stay on the field. I mean, obviously that's for any offense, but in this game, especially Bethune-Cookman wants to win, they need to convert some third downs. They are allowing 46% third down conversion rate, and that's not good. Obviously that's next to last in the league right now. But they need to control the clock. Their running game needs to get going, and they need to try to keep Alcorn off balance with their offense. I do love Kamari Everett, their tight end. He's a guy who is definitely a big play guy at that position. Right now, I would honestly say he's probably the top tight end in the league. There's not a lot of tight ends in the league, but he's the top. He's a big. He's almost more like a receiver type of guy, but he can make some plays. He's actually fourth in the league in receiving at 85.8 yards per game receiving. He has 37 catches, 686 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And he's averaging 18.5 yards per catch, which is definitely a good number for a tight end. He's getting down the field, and he's getting matched up against safeties and linebackers, and he's capitalizing. So for Bethune-Cookman, obviously the key to this game is to control the football, control the clock, convert your third downs, and don't turn the ball over, and do not fall behind. You cannot keep trying to come from behind week in and week out. Alcorn is a really good team. They have yet to play their best game. I think that Pine Bluff second half was probably the best football that they played consistently this season. The Texas Southern game was pretty good, but they got a few breaks in that game that helped them. But I really think that Alcorn is due for a breakout. And this, coming off of the game Saturday, I think this may propel them, especially knowing that they have a big game ahead of them, and they cannot afford to look over Bethune-Cookman. So I think Alcorn, obviously, the running game has been the key this year. I think it's going to continue to be that. Bethune-Cookman's pass defense is not good, so that definitely helps Felix Harper, the trigger man, and his receivers. I don't think that Bethune-Cookman can match up with their receivers, so I think they'll find some success through the air, and they'll also get what they want on the ground, provided that the offensive line continues to allow them to get plays and not get a lot of pressure. So I think this game I'm going Alcorn in this game by a score of 34-24. I think Alcorn is going to jump ahead like Bethune-Cookman has been allowing teams to do all year. And Bethune-Cookman to scramble back in the second half and make it look a little bit closer than what it is. I think Alcorn will win this game comfortably. I think Bethune-Cookman is going to score a few points late to make it look a little bit better. And that's going to do it for that game. Next game that we want to talk about will be Alabama A&M against Mississippi Valley. A&M picked up a big win in the Magic City Classic over Alabama State. Valley fought, scratched, and clawed against Jackson State and lost 28-19. And Valley is a dangerous team. I think they're hitting that point where, you can't just say, oh, it was Valley, the team overlooked them. I think Valley's getting better, and they definitely need to keep an eye on Coach Dancy because with all these jobs coming open, I guarantee you somebody's going to at least get him on campus to interview. And, you're going to have to do something to keep him on campus because he has instilled his mentality on his team. They're hard working. They play hard. They play physical. They play fast. And they don't quit. So they're not explosive offensively. Offensively, I really think their offense obviously can be a lot better. They're averaging 16 points per game on offense. And defensively, they're about mid-pack. They're allowing 30.5 points per game. But Caleb Johnson is the guy for Valley at running back. It's been said by me and other people. I know Scotty off script has said it a lot. Caleb Johnson, if he played for anybody other than Valley, he would probably be known as a top 2 or 3 running back in the league. Man, the dude is real. I watched him play against Southern. He made some jump cuts that I just had to shake my head. He doesn't go down easy. And he's playing on an offense that people know he's going to get the ball because Valley's offense doesn't really scare you with the pass game. They don't throw deep. They love to throw outside. They're gonna screen you to death. That's basically what they do. They screen you to death. They'll hit you with a slant. They're not gonna go deep too often. So knowing that and knowing that they don't have the most consistency at quarterback, Johnson being able to carry the ball the way he does really is a weapon. He went for over 100 yards against Jackson State, and I believe that's the first back this year to do that. So, that's a big mark. That's a guy that can tote the rock, and he's been doing it consistently the last couple of years. He hasn't put up great numbers because Valley's offense doesn't put up great numbers, but he's a good back. Valley's averaging 132 yards per game on the ground, and defensively they're allowing 149. Valley's defense, like I said, they are 7th in the league right now in total defense. So They are a tough team to move the ball against consistently. 381 on the ground. This, 381 total offense for this team. So Alabama A&M is definitely going to have their work cut out for them. What A&M obviously loves to pass the ball. Valley's pass defense is below mid-pack. They allow with 232 through the air. They have allowed 17 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So that's a problem mark for them. If I had to say what their weakness would be in this game, Valley passing the ball offensively, then obviously they're 135 yards per game. They have 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Third down conversion rate, Valley is converting at a rate of 28.6. I don't care how good your defense is. If you were converting less than 1 out of 3 third downs, a bit more than a quarter of your third downs, that defense is going to wear down. And that's, I think, the key for Valley is to try to put drives together consistently and, take advantage of this Alabama A&M defense that is honestly not a good defense. Valley is allowing 43% on third downs as a defense, so that's a mark that they're gonna have to try to fix in this game if they want to win. But Alabama A&M comes into this game. Obviously, everybody knows their offense. Akil Glass at quarterback, Gary Quarles at running back, who is the leading rusher in the league right now. He is averaging 100 yards per game, even 4.9 yards per carry. Glass, obviously, he's leading the league right now with 332 yards per game passing, 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Odu Hilaire leads the league in receiving yards per game at 98.2. Ibrahim is third at 91.3. 45 catches for Ibrahim, 639, and 4 touchdowns. Hilaire, 38 catches, 491 yards, 4 touchdowns. And that doesn't even account for a guy like D. Anderson, who has 8 touchdowns on the season, 320 yards and 20 catches. He's obviously their big body threat in the red zone. And, you also have, Zay Moore and Brian Jenkins Jr. As guys that are weapons on their offense. So it's not a lot that you need to say about this offense. You know what they can do. You know that they're gonna score points. Right now, they are leading the league in scoring offense at 33.3. The problem with them is their defense. Their defense is allowing 37 points per game. So they have to score in the 40s to win because they're giving up 37. So they need to score 38, 40, 45, whatever, because the defense, before last week, they had allowed a season high in points and yardage to every team they played except for Alabama State this past week, which they played a pretty decent game on defense in that game. So they need to challenge Valley. They need to step up. They need to get stops. Defensively, they are ninth in total defense at 417 per game. Rushing defense, they're 10th in the league at 181 yards per game, so that bodes well for Valley. Valley should be able to run the ball on them. Easton is also a good runner, at the quarterback position, so that's a factor. Pass defense, Alabama A&M is 8th in the league. They're allowing an average of 235 per game through the air. Third down conversions, they are mid-pack at 37%, and defensively they are mid-pack as well at 35%. So they do a decent job of getting stops, and they can force some turnovers as well. But this defense really has to find a way to stop somebody, from scoring. Red zone defense, they're mid-packer that their opponents are scoring 90% of the time in the red zone. So they really need to, take advantage of that, getting better on that. But the defense is the key for this game for Alabama A&M. They are next to last in the league in sacks with 9. on the season as a defense, and they have 7 interceptions. So they have to find a way to get some stops against Valley because Valley is gonna challenge you. Obviously, like I said, Valley's not gonna go out there and throw the ball up and down the field, but they're gonna spread you out and they're gonna try to work horizontally. And Johnson is gonna find his holes and make things happen. So I think for Alabama A&M, they just need to have their offense take advantage of the situation against Valley's pass defense and use that and build them a lead and get a few stops on defense and go from there. So in this game, I like the Bulldogs by a score of 38-20. Valley is gonna fight. This score is not indicative of Valley getting blown out. I mean, obviously it's a double-digit margin, but I think Valley is gonna fight. That's what they do. They fight and they fight hard, and they're not gonna quit. So they're gonna give Alabama A&M all they want in this game, but I think A&M's offense is gonna be too much for Valley in this one. And that takes us to our next game of the week, where we talk about Alabama State at Prairie View, homecoming on the hill, 2 o'clock kickoff. I don't see anything as far as broadcast right now, but I'm sure Prairie View will broadcast this at least over the air, radio. So Alabama State, very interesting game for them. Donald Hill-Ely got relieved of his duties on Monday or Sunday or Saturday, depending on how you look at it. But this team is they're in flux. Coach Pearson is taking over in the interim basis. So we'll see, if they can circle the wagons and get some momentum going, because this is not the kind of game or team that you want to come in, with that kind of turmoil. Alabama State, they're not scoring the ball well. They're averaging 17.4 points per game on offense. Their defense is actually a really good defense. Right now, they're allowing 30 points per game on defense. Total defense, they are actually 4th in the league right now at 348 per game. So the defense obviously is gonna challenge you. Offensively, they just are not really there. 278 per game on offense. The running game has not been there. 86 yards per game rushing. Defensively, they are allowing 159 per game. I thought the running game would be a better factor for Alabama State this season, but obviously it's just not there. Ezra Gray and Merritt are guys who really should be putting up better numbers than what they are. Ryan Nettles is a guy who can run the ball, but nothing is working for this offense right now. Passing, they also are struggling past the ball. They're 192 yards per game. Defensively, they're allowing 189 yards per game. They only have 2 interceptions on the season, but they've allowed 14 touchdowns. So they haven't been able to turn anybody over, but they are playing well on defense against the run and the pass. Defensively, they have 17 sacks right now, and they've allowed 15. So it's pretty even. They're not giving up a lot of sacks, but they're generating decent pressure. Christian Clark, Ershaw Davis, Culpepper, those guys are gonna really challenge Prairie View, and they're gonna have to, because Prairie View is a tough team. They're very, very balanced on offense. They are the 2nd leading scoring team right now at 31.4 points per game, and defensively they are 3rd in scoring, allowing an average of 23 points per game. So their defense is honestly probably right now the 3rd best defense in the league. This is a nice defensive matchup. I think Prairie View's offense is the difference in this matchup, because Alabama State just doesn't have the offense to compete in a game like this. So I think if Alabama State cannot move the football or at least consistently give Prairie View some problems, they're going to struggle. Prairie View leads the league in total offense at 446 per game. They're averaging 6.3 yards per play, which also leads the league. Defensively, they're 3rd in total defense, 298 per game, 4.3 yards per play. That's also 2nd in the league right now. Rushing, Prairie View is 2nd in the league, 182 yards per game. Defensively, third, 122 yards per game. Passing Prairie View is third in the league, passing at 264 yards per game. Defensively, they're third at 176 yards per game. They have allowed the fewest sacks in the season. They've only allowed 6 sacks this year. So they've done a really, really great job of protecting Juwan Pass. He's a guy who can get out of the pocket and scramble. So that helps also, alleviate some of the pressure. Lindamian Brooks, and Amar Antoine, these guys they really have some, they have 3 or 4 backs who can really carry the ball for them. Um, like I said, Brooks right now is the guy. Jaden Stewart, he's a guy. They have 2 guys right now, top 10 in the league in rushing. Brooks is averaging 60 yards per game, and Stewart 52 yards per game. That's that 1-2 punch for them. Antoine comes in and helps out pass. Like I said, he can run the ball, so that's also a weapon. Mullins and Jalen Howard are the top 2 receivers. Howard is their deep threat, averaging 27.4 yards per reception. Mullins is more the possession type of guy, but they have a bunch of guys who can catch the ball as well. Defensively, Jason Dumas mans that middle of that defense. He's tough. Trayshawn Smith, Drake Cheatham, a couple other defensive names to look at. Prairie View is a tough. They're a tough out. They also have a tough game next week against Alcorn. So this could be this any other situation I would consider this a trap game. But with Alabama State going through a coaching change, and we don't know how the team is going to respond to that, I don't really feel it's a trap game. I don't think Prairie View is going to overlook them. It's homecoming, so yes, there will be those homecoming distractions. But I think Prairie View will manage it because they have some big goals ahead of them. And if they can win this game and beat Alcorn next week, then they pretty much wrap up the SWAC West. So they have a lot on the line, and I don't think they're going to let down. And I think Prairie View will take this game by a score of 30-13. I think Alabama State is going to be game. I think their defense is going to be in it for a while, but the offense just has not been able to do anything, and I don't see that changing right now. So Alabama State, I think they're just going to have to kind of get themselves to the end of the season and see how they can manage from there. The next game we want to talk about is Jackson State against Texas Southern. 1:00 kickoff, JSU Sports Network. Now, you do have to pay. I don't know how much it is, but you do have to pay to watch this game on that network. So just be mindful of that. Texas Southern is the surprise team right now. Them and Valley. Records are not great, but they right now are the surprise team. Obviously, Texas Southern is led by Andrew Body. That's a name that if you don't know it by now, man, you need to really learn his name. He's a young freshman quarterback that's really kind of taking the SWAC by storm right now. He's a dual threat guy. He can hurt you with his legs and his arm. They have some great receivers. Keelan Davis is a guy who is definitely one of the top guys in the league. He's actually second in the league in yards per game at 97.4. You also have Jonathan Giles, who's a guy who can definitely make some things happen as well. Ja'Cory Howard at running back is also a guy that can tote that rock for them. And their offense is young and they make mistakes, but this offense is dangerous. This team right now they're getting better week in and week out. They're averaging 28 points per game, and passing wise, they're actually they're second in the league in passing offense. So that lets you know right there that they have a very explosive passing attack, 267 per game through the air, 10 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So taking decent care of the ball, they are making those untimely mistakes that can hurt you. My issue with this team, as we look at their rushing stats, they are averaging 163 yards per game. They're fourth in the league in rushing. So this is a very good offense. You may not have heard a lot about this offense, but they're a very good offense. the problem for me and what scares me in this game for them is their defense. Their defense is just, I don't know how to say it any nicer. The defense is just not good right now. They're allowing 227 on the ground per game, 5.3 yards per carry. Passing wise, they are averaging 263 through the air as a defense. So they are just, teams are getting what they want through the air and on the ground. The mistakes they make don't help them at all. But this defense really has to step up. They played a good game against Pine Bluff. I must give credit where it's due. They did play a good defensive game against Pine Bluff, so that's it shows that they're capable. But they have just gotten gashed on the ground and through the air, and that's a problem when you play a Jackson State team that can throw the ball really well. Right now, Jackson State is actually fourth in the league in passing offense at 263 yards per game, 20 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Jackson State, obviously, their issue and their Achilles heel is their run offense. They're last in the league in rushing at 81.6 yards per game, putting them at total offense at 345. The Jackson State offense is actually eighth in the league. Now, that lets you know that stats aren't really everything because this team leads the division and the conference right now. They have they're leading the East Division and have one of the best overall records in the conference, but their offense is eighth in the league. Their run game really wears them down. Their run game really weighs this team down on offense. The passing game is pretty spectacular when they get going. Shador Sanders obviously is the guy that leads this offense. Malachi Wideman has come on the last few weeks as a big play threat. Trevontae Rucker, who had been quiet the last few weeks, had a big touchdown against Valley. Josh Lanier, he's a guy who can make some plays. Obviously, Keith Corbin can make some plays. Warren Newman. They have a bunch of guys. That run game is where the issue is. Their run game is just not there. And offensively, they're allowing 24 sacks. So they are giving up a lot of hits on their quarterback. But Jackson State's defense is in a world of its own right now. They lead the league with 37 sacks. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. You really can't beat them any way. They lead the league in passing defense at 156 per game, 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. They actually have got on an interception streak the last couple games. Rushing defense, again, it's tough to run the ball on them, 82 yards per game. They only allow an average of 2.4 yards per carry, which is tops by 1.2 yards per carry. So they really stifle you on defense. Their defense really allows the offense to have a huge margin of error, and they clean up any mess the offense makes. They only allowing 239 per game as a defense, and they are allowing 13 points per game. So this team doesn't have to do a lot offensively spectacularly because the defense causes so many problems. James Houston is the guy at defensive end. He's a big time sack man, and he's getting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, and he's causing a lot of problems for teams. And he's actually second in the league right now in total sacks at 9.5, and he's second in the league along with Antoine Owens in tackles for loss, 14.5 for Houston, 11.5 for Owens. That doesn't even count guys like Aubrey Miller and Keontae Hampton at linebacker. And, those cornerbacks are pretty good. Safeties, they can have some issues, but their defense just is, there is no real spot that you really want to attack them consistently, but you do have to try to find a way to move the ball against them. I think Texas Southern will be able to move it from time to time. I think those offensive young mistakes are going to bite them. This Jackson defense is just so tough. They put all the pressure on your offense. Texas Southern offense is going to really have to handle that pass rush. Right now, I don't know if they're going to be able to hold up, all game. Texas Southern is allowing 13 sacks on the season, so that's second in the league, third in the league for least sacks. So they at least are doing a good job of protecting the quarterback. But this is going to be the test that they have not had yet. So Jackson State is going to put a lot of pressure on. Can Andrew Body use his legs to get Texas Southern out of some issues? They need to stay out of long down and distance. They need to really, consistently move the ball and manage the turnover. I think Texas Southern going to play a good offensive game. The score that I'm going to predict does not make it look like that, but I think their offense is, their team is young, so they're going to make these mistakes, and Jackson is going to force some of those mistakes because of their defense. But I think Texas Southern is going to be game. I think Coach McKinney has his team moving in the right direction. Um, I think they can win a couple of it. I think they can probably win their last two games of the season. They have a chance for sure. This team is going to be dangerous next year for sure. I go Jackson State 41-17, and that's not really that's not really me negatively looking down on Texas Southern's offense. Jackson's defense allows 13 points per game. So, Valley scored the most on them, I think, this year at 19. So, maybe Texas Southern can eke out another touchdown, but Texas Southern defense, to me, it just scares me right now. I think Jackson is going to be able to do what they want on offense, and that's something that is going to be a problem. Now, one thing to briefly, really kind of look at is, I don't know what's going on with Coach Sanders, if he'll be there or not, but that's something that to monitor from this point on. Jackson, with a win and a FAMU loss, could clinch the division, I think, this week. Otherwise, they'll most likely clinch it next week. So this is a big game, obviously, for Jackson. Texas Southern's going to be game, but I think Jackson is going to pull it off. Our final game, which is our game of the week, Southern and FAMU hook up in a long time HBCU rivalry. First year as conference rivals. That's something I thought I'd never say. FAMU and Southern in the same conference. I never thought I'd say that. But these two teams, the programs have a great history against each other. The teams haven't played that often in recent years. 2019, and I think before that was like 2011 and 2010 or 2011 and 2012. I can't remember which one. But, these two teams, they haven't played a lot in recent years, but historically they played a lot. At one point, it was one of the longest continuous HBCU games between two teams not in the same conference. And so this is going to be, both teams have very proud fan bases. Obviously, the bands are going to be there. They both think they claim to being the best band. The teams are kind of different. FAMU obviously is led by their defense. Their defense is number 2 right now, allowing number 2 in the league right now with 26 sacks, and they are allowing 17.3 points per game. And it's really tough to move the ball on this team. They are a solid number 2 behind Jackson State. Total defense, they're second at 287. Rushing defense, they're second 119 per game, 3.6 yards per carry. Rush passing defense, they are second as well with 176 yards per game, 8 interceptions, and 11 touchdowns. Those 8 interceptions are the second most in the league. So they have, Antoine Collier and Marquise Bell. Those are a great safety duo. They're going to cause a lot of problems. Isaiah Land is obviously a name that you need to look out for. As a defensive guy, he leads the league in sacks. So, he's going to cause a lot of problems. Right now he has 12 sacks on the season and 18 and a half tackles for loss. Savion Williams has come on strong for them as of late. Gentle Hunt is a guy in the middle of that defense that's going to be a problem. Offensively, they're kind of hit or miss right now. They are mid-pack in scoring offense at 26 points per game. Rashawn McKay is I guess you can say he's a game manager right now. Their passing offense is 8th in the league right now at 200 yards per game. They have 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. They have some really solid receivers. Xavier Smith, David Manigault, Chad Hunter, and Jamare Sherrod, who's also a great punt returner. So Southern do not punt to him. He will house it on you. But McKay is, obviously, you look at him and he's not wowing you with what he does. He doesn't really hurt the team that often, but he's not really taking the bull by the horns and really ramping this passing game up. Their running game is pretty solid. Right now they're averaging 150 yards per game, 4.4 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. Bishop Barnett is the leader of that rushing offense. Um, he's actually right now he's actually fourth in the league in rushing, and um, Terrell Jennings is also a guy who helps out in his running game. He's averaging 400. I mean, excuse me, he's averaging 41 yards per game rushing. Um, Bishop Barnett 83 yards per game rushing. So I like what FAMU is doing. Southern is, they are a very inconsistent team this year. They offensively, everybody knows what Southern wants to do. Southern wants to run the ball. They lead the league in rushing, 217 yards per game on the ground. Bubba McDaniel had his best passing game this year against Alcorn, but the passing offense is still not, they're not deadly. 167 yards per game, that's 10th in the league. They have 12 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So they have some guys who can make some plays through the air. Marquise McClain is a guy at receiver. He's a big body guy, real physical. He can make some plays. Khalif Gossett is a guy who came on in the Alcorn game, had a couple of big catches, big 6'5" guy. He's gonna probably be a factor in this passing offense. The tight ends have not been that active this year, but they are capable. Ethan Howard, Travis Tucker, two guys who can catch. The backs can catch. Gerard Sims, who is back from injury, he led Southern in rushing against Alcorn. He can catch well. He did have a big drop against Alcorn, but he can catch well. Kobe Dillon can catch the ball. Devon Ben can catch the ball. So they have guys. Jamar Washington, he can catch the ball. But Southern obviously wants to run the ball, and they're going to run it with a lot of guys. If they want to if they want to move this ball against FAMU, they're going to have to use every trick in their book. They're going to have to use the receivers. They have four guys who can carry the ball. Nelson, Dylan, who's actually I think third in the league right now in rushing. He come on strong. Gerard Sims, who is most likely the starter. So he's gonna get a lot of carries now. And Southern has a bunch of guys to carry the ball. Bubba McDaniel had a great game running against Alcorn, scrambling out of pressure. But the defense for Southern, to me, is what concerns me the most in this game. The defense they're just a mixed bag right now. They're allowing um, 176 yards per game on the ground. Passing defense, they are right now passing defense. They're seventh in the league at 224 yards per game, 14 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So they do a decent job of forcing some turnovers. But this defense has this. They like I said, they're a middle of the pack defense, so they have a habit of giving up big plays at inopportune times, and that's what really makes the defense look really worse than what it is. Scoring defense, they are allowing. Scoring defense, they are allowing 32 and a half points per game. So they are giving up a lot of points, and they are getting hurt on third downs. That's what kills Southern right now. Their defense is allowing 49% third down conversion rate. That's worse in the league by about 3%. The 3 or 4 teams ahead of them are teams that have losing records. So this defense just is not capable of getting stops right now. Southern is second in the league in the least amount of sacks allowed with 12. Defensively, the pass rush is not really there. They're allowing 15. I mean, they have 15 sacks this year. I thought that number would be higher, but that defensive line is banged up, and they just have not been able to make a lot of crucial plays. So for Southern, this game is a big game. FAMU, this is a big game. They need to keep pace with JSU. Southern, they need this win to kind of survive that 4-game homestand with Jackson State looming next week. So I think Southern's going to be game. I really think Southern's going to play with a good energy. I think the Alcorn game may have boosted them. I'm just leery of Southern coming out not aggressive because this team has been up and down all year, and they have yet to play 2 good games back to back. they respond well off of losses, off of wins. They don't really play as sharp. I don't think that's going to be a problem because this is a rivalry game. I think they'll be up for it. But I like FAMU mainly because of their defense. Um, FAMU has allowed more points on the road than they have at home, so that bodes well for Southern. But I like this score by margin of 30-27. I think this could be anybody's game, but I think FAMU is going to find a way to win it at the end. So that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow with a live edition of Swag Smoke as per usual, 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, Sunday, Week 10 recap. And I'm your tour guide, C. Wells, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. Um, if you're going to a game, man, please be safe. Enjoy yourself. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for our edition of Swag Smoke. We are out.